Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Now, we're concerned, of course, about the possibilities of these Republicans being good for something instead of being good for nothing, as usual. And one of them, of course, is this Congressman Darrell Issa of California. But, oh, my heavens, his ability to do anything is now being limited by his tremendous skeletons in his closet. You've got to look at the New Yorker. Look at the New Yorker, dated, I believe, January 24th, the one presently on newsstands, presently on the Internet. In this, we see Issa says the Obama birth certificate issue is off limits. No probe of Obama's birth certificate, says Issa to the New Yorker. Why? Well, it turns out that Issa has what amounts to, I don't know if it's a criminal record, but he's got a record of arrests. He was indicted for stealing cars. He's accused 3 times of auto theft, once a Dodge Charger, once a red Maserati. He raised his sights. He was once arrested for arson, the burning of a factory. He was accused of threatening the owner of a company with a gun during a takeover battle. He's accused of weapons charges, having an illegal gun in his glove compartment in a car. So arson, grand theft auto, gun violations, and all kinds of shenanigans seem to be in Issa's past. And that's all in the New Yorker. So that doesn't look good. It's going to take pressure to get him to do anything, and he's essentially already taken the birth certificate off the issue. But let's hear what Phil Berg has to say. We go now to Philadelphia to be joined by our friend Phil Berg, the attorney who started this entire issue and who has kept it going and represented by far the most competent version of this entire story. So welcome, Phil.
Thank you for your kind words. I have not looked at the New Yorker. Thank you for. I'll check that out later. But interesting phenomenon just happened today, and I missed most of it, but I caught about 10 minutes of it. Rush Limbaugh today, believe it or not, was talking about the birth certificate. And he was talking about Abercrombie with the birth certificate. So if you or one of your listeners knows how I can get on that show, because this is, I think, an opportune time, he was going all through it, how Abercrombie stated he was there when he was born, then he changed his mind, then he said it's in the records, but now they can't find it in the records. So the issue's out there. The issue has not gone away. It's growing. Abercrombie, I really think, as I told you listeners, I think last week, I think Abercrombie really did it on his own. He felt like he's going to help out Obama by getting this document released. And then after he did a lot of hoopla on it, he found out that there's no such document because, as I stated back October of 2008, Obama was not born in Hawaii. And I think what happened is Abercrombie kept talking about it, and I really think that at that point, Obama's people got to him and said, shut your mouth. He wasn't born here. Just stop talking about it. But because Abercrombie opened his big mouth, and the other day he came out and said it's in the records, and now he says it's not in the records, I really think he stepped into a hole which is going to backfire on him and help us, because the topic now is big. I mean, and for Rush Limbaugh to be talking about it, because it's a topic that he basically has ignored over the past couple of years.
Right. Well, that may be the case. I'm just trying to point out that now with Issa, you can see the blackmail dossier on Issa has now been printed in the New Yorker, at least some of it. So it's
but even
the
with his bad record,
conflict.
He's a congressman. He's still head of that committee. So what could they do further with him on his record? I mean, the record's out there now. I think that you're right. They could do things against him, but it's in there that he definitely said the birth certificate's off limits.
Yes, he tells the interviewer from the New Yorker, he says the birth certificate issue is off limits. Now, as you say, though, all of this was known, and people in California apparently knew it, because at one point Issa ran for statewide office, and he didn't even get the Republican nomination, but in the course of that, all of this was dredged up. In other words, this is not somebody doing investigative journalism, with the sources. It's somebody who has looked at the press in California over the last 30 years. Most of these events are from the early 70s. And some of it's not even California. Some of it was in Cleveland, where he started off. The guy was the he was the Viper, right? Remember these things, you lock your car, you can put in the club or whatever it is, right? You put it on your steering wheel. He had one called the Viper, and it said there was this recording in it, right, saying, this car is protected by the Viper, back off. And that was the voice of Darrell Issa. So he was a wild guy, involved in all kinds of collisions, arrests, really rocambolesque. But again, it's not that they can put him in jail with this stuff. It's just that he's an embarrassment now to the Republicans and therefore weakened.
Well, but let's take a different view of that. He really has nothing to lose. So if he really exposes Obama, it could be a feather in his cap if he's got guts enough to do it, because there's nothing more that they can do against him. I mean, his whole record's out there. It's an interesting phenomenon. I'll have to read that article and see what he says on there. But to take it off the table, then we just have to put pressure on other Republicans. And the other thing is we just have to put pressure on the state legislatures. And I don't have that list in front of me, which I promised last week. The state legislatures, which are considering to put on the ballot for next year, for 2012, anyone running for president, before they can put their name down for the Republican or Democratic primary for president, they must show that they're constitutionally eligible to be president. And I really think that's the route to go. The other thing is, I'm not sure how legit it was or not, but the front page of the Globe this week has Obama's shocking weight loss. It says birthplace cover-up takes terrible toll on the president. They say he lost 30 pounds over this thing, and they show a photo of him. Interesting. I mean, the pressure. Listen, if anyone said 2 years ago that this would still be a topic today, they'd be shocked. They would think that it either went away because they discovered it was not true, or went away because we had been tired of pursuing it. But we're not tired of pursuing it, and it's out there, and more people. And I think just by Darrell Issa saying it's off limits gives us more pressure to go to the Speaker of the House. He could put pressure on Issa. And the other thing is the American public here to get the state legislatures and just if they do it in a half dozen Republican states, he's done. Democratic states, he's done. So that's what we have to work on, and I am working on that at the present time.
Bill, I wouldn't write off Issa. Issa just needs to be pulled back in the other direction. Plus, you got to figure that the new freshman class of these Republicans, 87 people now. Some of these people have all kinds of epistemological problems we can imagine, but still, some of them may have a desire to get to the bottom of this birth issue, which I think a lot of them would be sympathetic to. It might be a good time, again, for you to think about testifying in those House Appropriation subcommittees and or setting up some meetings, right? Come to Congress, meet them, right? Especially when they're new, they often are interested in getting a broad range of opinion. I can remember the Republicans in 1995 were some of the easiest people to get meetings with because they just wanted to hear essentially everything, right? They wanted to get their bearings, right, to learn what was going on in Washington. So that may still hold true.
Great point, and we're going to pursue everything here. And also, if you have any contacts with someone for Rush Limbaugh, because that could just put this really up on the front page. And it's interesting that he's still talking about it now. And as I mentioned, and it's sort of out there when Chris Matthews mentioned it, it's like a turnabout. Are they ready to dump Obama? So there's a lot going on right now, and we're going to stay on top of it. And our website is obamacrimes.com.
Let's see if Chris Matthews responds to Limbaugh, because usually you can rely on Chris Matthews to go berserk whenever anybody brings this issue up. And if he realizes that Limbaugh has done it, he may magnify that by trying to counter Limbaugh by refuting him, by quoting him, by attacking him, right, by saying he's crazy, and so forth. So it's a broad field of activity. We'll see you again next week, Phil.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.